Good morning. My name is Baljeet Polina. I'm here with Lily Gordon. We're gonna basically show you a brief demo on how the search engine works on the Verusen platform. We're walking you some of the examples. So we're gonna start, and on the screen as I talk, we're gonna show you some of the examples to walk through. All these searches are not limited to, but this is just a brief demo of that. So hope you guys will find this one informational and useful. And then as we bring you guys on board, we will have a one-pager guideline, which we're going to share today also with you, as well as we will also go over in details during the training sessions. All right, so first example we're going to use is, as soon as you log into the Verusen platform, you will see up on the upper hand, towards the left, there's a search functionality available. And that's a free fall text kind of search. And underneath that, as soon as you bring your mouse on the hover over there, you will see there's already some, generic description saying what to do and what not to do. And some of those I will cover through there. But let's use first example. Let's say you have an exact part number available. So I'm looking for a bearing. I know the manufacturing part number is 6204 2RSJEM. If you know the part number, enter it as a whole part number without any spaces, anything, hyphens, etc. You can see it will bring, as soon as we type in, it brings that I have one, which is 6204 space 2RSGEM part number. Also in the vendor part number, it's listed as 6204 2RSGEM with no spaces. Now the search does work on supplier name. It does work on supplier part number, description, material ID. It works on those fields, and doesn't matter what order it is, it will pull it up the information, right? So now we're going to use the same example. Let's say I know the part number, partial part number. I know it starts with 6204, but don't know what it ends with. You can put an asterisk to the end, and it will pull up the example. You can see when I put the whole part number as together, it only brought me one example, and when I put the wildcard in the end, it brought me a lot more examples for that. And you can see why some of these are listed 6204ZZ, some of these are 6204ZZC3, and the first one was 2RSJEM, okay? Now, if you know, let's use the same example for a different scenario. If I know the beginning of the part number and the ending of the part number, but there's something in the middle I don't know, you can still use 6204 star, let's say JEM. It now brings up the values because you can see there's a hyphen JEM, there's a space JEM C3, there's a 6204-2Z JEM, the third example. So it brings those examples, all right? The one thing I will say here is, the wildcard works in the back as a prefix, but we cannot use the wildcard in the front. You have to start with some part number first, okay? Let's go to next example. Let's say I don't know the manufacturing part number, but I know my material ID. So we're gonna use the example. I know my material ID is GP058067119. I don't know what's called, but I know the ID because that was the ID used on my last PO. I'm going to pull it. And you can see it's basically bringing that example. And it's a joint steams, all the description for a dryer at one of the mills, right? Next one example we're going to use is, if I know the material number partial against to start with, I know this GP058, and then I put a 067, instead of 067, I put 06 star. You can see it brings everything which is starting with that, but ending with a different number, 6718, 700, 6248. So it will give you the fuzzy search on the wildcard in the end. Okay. Let's say I don't know the part number. I don't know the manufacturing part number. I want to search on a description, but I still don't know what order the description is carrying, but I know a few things. So I'm going to enter, I'm looking for a ball bearing for 10 inch. So I'm going to enter bearing space 10, ball space 10. The fuzzy search doesn't have to be in any order. You can enter the text, the way the text you're going to type, the more results you're going to get. But if you type in more prescriptive, it's going to keep narrowing down this, Again, don't use hyphens, don't use any stars in this one unless you know what the limited search you want to be. But you can type the text, it doesn't have to be in a certain order. You can type ball, space bearing, space 10, you can type 10, space ball, space bearing. It all going to return you the same results. Okay. Let's say I want to narrow this search more. Okay, I know it's bearing and ball and it's 10 inch and it's 6 inch, but I don't know what's the diameter, what's the inside diameter, outside diameter is. So I can enter space 6 and it will narrow down to further. You can see on the first example, it's 10 by 22 by 6. So it will bring the results back based on the characteristics is available in the search. Okay. One other example I want to use here is, let's say I know, I'm looking for a pneumatic cylinder. Okay. I don't know any other things. I want to see what's available under pneumatic cylinders. I can type a pneumatic cylinder. That's fine. But in some cases, I don't know how to spell pneumatic, but I know it's PNEU star. Okay. And then also I can do space CYL star because I don't know how to spell cylinder or how it's spelled in the system because everybody has different. Some people might have abbreviated it. So I want to, but you can see I can put the wildcards in the end of the both words with a space and it returns the results on that. Okay. Let's say, next example I want to show you, let's say I'm looking for a motor. Okay. Some people will use, spell it in the description as a motor, M-O-T-R. Some will spell it M-T-R. So you can search in a free form. Either way, it will bring the same results. Okay. But if you are looking for an absolute value, then you can search the fuzzy search field here by putting the quotes in the beginning and in the end of the word. And it will only bring the search where the motor is spelled as M-O-T-R. It will not bring the search in this one as M-T-R. Okay. The next one is, let's say I'm searching for a bearing for a motor, but I don't know how it's spelled. I don't know if it's under motors or it's under bearings. You can do an and or search. So if I type motor and bearing, it will bring me anywhere in the description where it's a motor and a bearing spelled in the searches. The criteria here is and has to be spelled in caps. Okay, same scenario, but now I want to see if it's motor or bearing. I can type or. Okay, it will bring the results where it's either a motor or a bearing in our search fields. Okay. So on the first line, you can see it's Toshiba International. So I can also search, let's say I know I want to search by vendor. Okay, so if I type Toshiba, it will bring those search anywhere is Toshiba listed, even the vendor name. So the search also applies to the vendor name. Okay, so those are a few brief demo how our Verusen platform search functionality works in the fuzzy search. We will be sharing a one-page cheat sheet, what to do and what not to do. And some of these cases is like, as I mentioned earlier, you cannot use a star in the beginning, but you can use a star as a wildcard in the end. Also, our functionality right now does not allow as a hyphen to be used for search, so you can use a space for that. And as the Verusen platform is evolving, we will be, keep revising these cheat sheets and guidelines. And as the users come on to our platform, while training, we'll train them, but also we'll be keep providing you the periodic updates on the searches. Thank you so much. Have a good day.